moment by having Chandrayaan-3 mission, which has moved into the final phase. It is a follow-up of Chandrayaan-2 mission. Namaskar Pallavji and welcome to Akashvani.
Thanks a lot.
Pallavji, my first question, very basic. What do we gain? Access the moon through the South Pole where it is dark for most of the time. And then we come to what has happened today.
India is targeting to Chandrayaan-3, which is India's lunar satellite, India's third venture to the moon. And India, with limited resources, always dreams big, wants to give big. So the country is looking for an unexplored area of the moon, and the unexplored area was nearer the south pole of the moon, which is why during Chandrayaan-1 in 2008, then in Chandrayaan-2 in 2019, and now in Chandrayaan-3, India is attempting to explore nearer the south pole of the moon. That is an area which has now become what is called part of the gold rush on the moon. In fact, America, China, Russia, India, all of them are going out to explore the south pole of the moon. And India's Chandrayaan-3 is now heading towards the south pole of the moon. And if all goes well, on 23rd of August, we could see India's flag reaching softly onto the lunar surface. And what a great moment it would be.
Absolutely. In fact, the lander module, or LM as we call it in short sometimes, has successfully separated from the main spacecraft, and we expect it to land on the moon surface, as you said, on the 23rd of August. God willing, everything will be fine. And once the lander module lands, the propulsion module will be around the moon for a few months. Coming to the basic question, have we got some pictures from the moon so far now?
The update for today is that the Vikram lander and the propulsion module, which separated from being conjoined triplets yesterday to becoming twins in the moon orbit, today the Indian Space Research Organization brought the Vikram lander closer to the moon surface. And now, for me, what was the best news of today was that the first images taken by the Vikram lander of the lunar surface have been released by the Indian Space Research Organization. And to me, that shows that the systems on board the Vikram lander are in perfect health, and that the images sent back really show the pockmarked lunar surface and also shows the detail. But these are not the only images. India's space agency has literally mapped the lunar surface at great detail. We already have the orbiter of the Chandrayaan-2 satellite, which has sent back amazing amounts of images. And on the landing strip, where Vikram lander is going to go in and land on 23rd of August, we have mapped the area so that any boulder larger than 30 centimeter in size, meaning almost there was a brick on the moon, has been mapped by the Indian Space Research Organization, and then they will go in for a suitable landing site. So today, the Vikram lander is now closer to the lunar surface, but still has some distance to cover, and the images sent back by the lunar module, by the Vikram lander, are looking good.
Wow, that sounds very optimistic and truly a matter of pride that we are covering that area so minutely. We had reached up to this level in Chandrayaan-2 mission, and our scientists have worked for nearly 3 years trying to rectify the errors which prevented the smooth landing last time. Is it tricky, Pallavji, because the south pole of the moon is the dark side? It remains in darkness for a long time. Does that make it more challenging?
No, the challenge really is to do a soft landing on a celestial body. And one should know that the moon has no atmosphere. When there is no atmosphere, one can't use a parachute to come down because there is no drag because of the air, and the gravity is much lower. So the only option left is what is called an assisted landing. Rocket motors are fired to slow down the Vikram lander and then go in for a soft landing. And there is very difficult to replicate all the conditions which are there on the moon, on Earth, and then to be able to successfully make it happen in an automatic mode so that a soft landing happens. In Chandrayaan-2, where the Vikram lander crash landed on the moon, several errors, and one can say safely that the Vikram lander in Chandrayaan-2 was an under-tested machine, and it went in and it kind of, in the last phase, it tumbled and crash landed on the lunar surface. But since then, the Indian scientists at the Indian Space Research Organization have worked very hard. They have created lunar-like conditions at a place in Karnataka at Chitradurga, and they used model of the Vikram lander to simulate the conditions using a helicopter, and also used a large crane at Sriharikota to do what are called hot test of the Vikram lander. Chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, Mr. S. Somanath, told me that this time they are very confident that a soft landing would happen. And his confidence stems from the fact that, because he says in Chandrayaan-2, the attempt was that it be a success. But in Chandrayaan-3, in Vikram lander, the effort has been that if everything goes wrong, they should still have a landing. So the effort has been to work towards failures. And once you work towards failures, you will be able to ensure that your margins are high and success comes your way. This time, the scientists at Bangalore, because all the current activities of Chandrayaan 3 are being controlled from Bangalore, the scientists and the team are upbeat that things would go right on August 23rd.
Well, today when we talk of self-reliance or Make in India, we usually refer to the defense sector. But if you look at ISRO has been a great model of self-reliance in space technology. In 2008, we launched as many as 11 satellites, including 9 from other countries, and went on to become the first nation to launch 10 satellites on one rocket. Similarly, we have many examples. Pallavji, what impact can this mission have on the development of our country? Because we know that we have INSAT, we have navigation, we have our communication systems like the cell phones. All that is connected to the satellites in space. What about this particular mission? How does it aid in the development of our Bharat?
ISRO has all about being Atmanirbhar.
Yes.
Before Atmanirbhar Bharat became the buzzword, ISRO and the Department of Atomic Energy in India both were working towards self-reliance, and there was a very simple reason for that. All technology was denied to these organizations by the so-called developed countries, and they had no option but to do it on a self-reliant way. Not just 10, India launched 104 satellites in a single mission.
That's right.
It created a world record at that time. Subsequently, that record has been broken. But for several years, it remained a jewel in the crown of the Indian Space Research Organization. But let us step back a little bit. See, today, India has end-to-end capabilities. India makes its own rockets. India makes its own satellites. But more importantly for you and me, we also do all the downstream activities. So whenever Lalima goes to the ATM machine to withdraw cash, you are touching a satellite somewhere. Whenever a cyclone forecasting happens and so many lives are saved, that is thanks to satellites which have been made by Indian scientists.
Wow.
So almost every day, somewhere or the other, satellites are touching our lives, and satellites are making the lives of Indians so much better. So Atmanirbhar is just one aspect, but helping India becoming a developed country, and in this Amrit Kal, taking India forward to becoming the third largest economy. I'm sure the Indian space technology ecosystem, and now it's beyond the ISRO because there are so many more private players, it will help a lot.
Right. Ballavji, as the lander module will descend, the propulsion module will continue its journey along the lunar orbit for, as I have come to know, probably 6 months. What does it do there?
See, the propulsion module literally has done its job. Its job was to cart Vikram lander all the way to the moon and then leave it there. Essentially, it was a large tanker of fuel which was propelling the Vikram lander all the way to the moon. Its main job is done. There is one small experiment on the propulsion module, which is to look for what are the signatures of life as seen through a spectroscope, which is on board the propulsion module, and they are looking towards the Earth, because as far as we humans know, Earth is the only place which has carbon-based life. And what could be the signatures of that carbon-based life as you see from space? And why are we doing that? We are doing that at some point or the other, if we look at other exoplanets and if we find similar signatures, which are there as seen by the propulsion module of Chandrayaan-3, then we may say there is a possibility of life on that exoplanet. It is a futuristic experiment being done by the Indian Space Research Organization. This was an experiment which was incorporated on the propulsion module at the last minute. But the key and the big thing of Chandrayaan 3 is to attempt a soft landing on the moon and to show to the world that India has the capability on its indigenous, independent, Atmanirbhar capabilities to be able to soft land on a celestial body.
How did they manage to do it in such a short span? Because they started much later than we did, and they are probably going to land before 23rd. Is that how it is?
That's correct. Russians have a satellite called Luna 25, and the Luna 25 is attempting to soft land between 21st and 23rd of August. And yes, Luna 25 was launched later than Chandrayaan 3 from Sriharikota, but Luna 25 was launched on a more powerful rocket by Russia, and it is a much lighter satellite, so it would have a direct path to the moon. But let me explain here. See, India is a country which has big dreams. When you have big dreams and you have limited resources, you have to deploy them very smartly. And the Indian Space Research Organization deployed its resources of the launch vehicle Mark 3, which I call the Bahubali rocket, in a very optimal way, and then used the gravity or the love of Mother Earth to try and slingshot Chandrayaan 3 all the way to the moon, and they really succeeded in that. So, with limited resources, in a frugal way, how you can reach the moon is what the Indian Space Research Organization has showcased. Yes, there are risks in doing that, but then when you take risks, there are also big gains. And ISRO has shown the gain has come their way, the risk was there, but they have succeeded in that.
Yes, indeed. ISRO's Mars mission, world remembers, as we were the first country to have a space probe and enter the Mars orbit on its first attempt, and such a record low cost of just $74 million. Well, coming back to this project, how long will the rover Pragyan be there after rolling off from the Vikram lander? Vikram lander, as we know, has been named after Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the father of India's space research program. How long will the rover Pragyan be there on the moon?
See, the Vikram lander is expected to land in a strip which is 4 kilometers by 2.5 kilometers in area. And I call that area Kalam Vihar, essentially because India's late President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam in Chandrayaan-1 had suggested that India send a moon impact probe, which also went down and impacted as desired in the same area. And Chandrayaan-2 had a Vikram lander crash landing in the same area. So that area is appropriately called Kalam Vihar by me. And today, scientists in ISRO are calling the south pole of the moon as Chandragangotri. We had Dakshin Gangotri on Antarctica, so Chandragangotri on the south pole of the moon. So once the Vikram lander touches down softly on the moon and ISRO lets the dust, the regolith, settle down, a few hours later, the Pragyan rover comes down on a ramp and then it goes around the surface of the moon.
Actually, ISRO has come a long, long way. Consider the fact that Aryabhat satellite was launched way back in 1975. And we are earnestly hoping that this Chandrayaan-3, which you talked about and threw light upon, shall be a great, great success and a historical moment for all Indians. Thank you, Pallavji, for talking to us.
Always a delight to talk to Akashvani.
You were listening to a discussion on Chandrayaan-3 mission, lander set for touchdown. The participants were Pallav Bagla, science expert, and Lalima Aneja Dang, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on Air. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on Air Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsttalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928-909-4044.
This is Akashvani. In the special program, now we bring you an exclusive interview with Meenakshi Lekhi, Union Minister of State for